Chapter 3: Life in Tehran. Radio and television influenced and dramatically shaped the desires and demands of Iran's children. As we grew up, they were broadcasting the Western lifestyle of the 1970s. By 10th grade, I was able to see the cultural difference between East and West. This was a far cry from reading about it and discussing it with my schoolmates. We had envisioned a prosperous West, but it was beyond our imaginations. The freedom Westerners enjoyed might as well have been happening on another planet, because it was so far from the lives my classmates and I lived. The revolution had not yet happened in Iran, but we were still captive to the strict demands of Islam. Speaking out against Islam was taboo and costly. We witnessed the resistance of committed Muslims to the impact of Western culture and its clothing styles in particular on us younger generations. I sometimes felt embarrassed for attaching myself so strongly to Islam and depriving myself of the freedom my peers enjoyed. As a result, I started to limit my religious practices to only special religious days. We also started to question the unjust distribution of wealth in our country because of Western cultural impact. Along with other students, I believe the major cause of poverty in Iran was the misuse of the country's wealth and its rich oil reserves. Our fight against the regime was mainly expressed through our opinions, and they went virtually unnoticed. Whenever revolutionary-minded students got together to discuss the nation's problems, we voiced our desire for our leaders to have a parental heart for their nation rather than filling their own pockets. Voicing our opinions in journalism papers cost us high marks as punishment for criticizing Iranian leaders. Of course, not one of us dared link the problems directly to the Shah, the king of Iran, because it was very dangerous. We were careful not to directly blame the system itself. Otherwise, we would have risked danger to ourselves and our loved ones. We hope for poor students and their families to be financially supported by the government so one day they might be able to voice their opinions or play a role in the government of the country they work so hard for. It seemed unfair that only the rich governed Iran, supporting a system that protected their own interests. When I finished high school in 1975, I was accepted to a college in Tehran, the capital of Iran. I had never been away from my family, and it was the longest journey I ever made. I went to stay with a family in Tehran who had once spent a holiday in our village with relatives. They told me that I could not live in Tehran with the amount of savings I had and offered me a room in their home with food 3 times a day for 3,500 rials a month. At the time, that equaled about $50. I was taken aback by the family's request for money because such an invitation never involved a monetary exchange. It was a cultural embarrassment to even suggest payment while you yourselves are enjoying free food and holiday with relatives and friends. I was desperate to move to Tehran, so didn't give their demands much thought. I agreed to live with them and pay monthly rent. I moved into their home soon after. I quickly discovered that unlike traditional Iranian culture, the mother of the family was the decision maker. There were also many questionable situations that caused me to wonder about the family's moral values. They seemed quite different at home than what I saw on their vacation in Talesh. It also puzzled me that I couldn't discern what jobs the family members held. They seemed to be trying to keep the specifics of their employment secret. This might normally be the case if someone was engaged in work that was criminal in nature or less prestigious or even immoral. It was a strange eye-opener living with these people because they were so radically different than the family unit I was accustomed to. However, my desire to pursue my education put off deeper thoughts about the family's bizarre behavior.